Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today, a real technical acceleration through the latest Azure service announcements. We're zeroing in on the updates from October 6th to October 9th, 2025.
Yeah.
We're cutting straight to it. What needs changing in your configs now, and what needs some serious migration planning for tomorrow?
Exactly. We've sifted through, I think it was 13 key updates.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone managing infrastructure or security, they really fall into two main buckets.
Okay.
First, you've got the general availability stuff, the GAs that, immediately affect how you design and secure things. And second, the retirement notices. Some of these have pretty tight deadlines, actually, so they demand immediate attention on your roadmaps.
Right. Sounds like a packed week. We're touching on networking rules, security policies, even specialized AI operators and database stuff.
Yeah, quite a mix.
Okay, let's dive straight into those GAs impacting core infrastructure and security posture first. All right, kicking off with firewalls and networking. Update 2 looks interesting. GA for Azure Firewall supporting customer-provided public IPs. BOIP, right? Bring your own IP. The one, and specifically within virtual WAN secured hubs.
Okay, BYOIP. Why is that a big deal? Seems like a convenience thing.
Well, it is convenient, but it's actually more about governance, I'd say. Think about large companies with really strict IP address management, complex hybrid setups.
Mm-hmm.
This GA lets them stick to their existing auditable public IP plans even when they deploy Azure Firewall into that secured virtual WAN. It cuts down on needing, special exceptions internally.
Ah, I see. So it smooths things out for bigger, more regulated environments. Makes sense. And still on firewalls, update 9. This one tackles a common headache, right? Managing those massive firewall rule lists.
Oh, yeah.
The IP group limit per Azure Firewall policy jumps from 200 up to 600. That's triple. What's the real-world benefit there? It's a direct chance to clean things up. Seriously.
Yeah.
When you hit that old 200 limit, your rule sets just got messy, sprawling lists, maybe individual IPs instead of logical groups.
Yeah, I've seen that. Not pretty.
Exactly. So tripling that capacity means architects can swap out those long, messy rules for cleaner, organized groups. It makes the policies way easier to read, manage, and crucially audit. It's just good operational hygiene, basically.
An immediate win, then.
Nice. Okay, moving from the perimeter.
Yeah?
Let's talk about those edge devices. The tricky ones, often treated like security black boxes.
Mm-hmm. The IoT and OT stuff.
Right. Update 3 brings firmware analysis enabled by Azure Arc to GA.
Yes, and this is significant. We're talking Internet of Things devices, operational technology in industrial settings, network appliances.
Stuff that doesn't usually run standard security agents.
Precisely. They're everywhere, but notoriously hard to secure properly. So now, Azure Arc gives you visibility deep inside the device firmware's security posture. That's a huge step, especially for things like industrial control systems, where that visibility was basically non-existent. Okay, so peeling back a layer on devices that were previously kind of opaque, good stuff. All right, let's pivot a bit. Moving from core security to data architecture and some of the newer compute innovations. Starting with databases. Update 1, custom port support for Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server is now GA.
Yeah, this sounds minor, letting you pick a port between 25,001 and 26,000.
Right. Doesn't seem earth-shattering.
But it provides really critical flexibility in some cases. Think legacy apps that expect a non-standard port, or maybe security policies where the default port, 336, might be blocked or, deliberately obscured.
Ah, okay. So it's about fitting into existing setups without major reconfigs or policy fights.
Exactly. It's a small lever, but potentially powerful for compatibility.
Got it. Database flexibility is one thing, but keeping them patched, that's always a pain point. Update 13 is about PostgreSQL. Immediate support for the latest minor versions.
Yeah, and the key here is really operational simplicity. The latest minor is 17.6, 16.9, and down to 13.2, even the 18 beta 3. They just get applied automatically during the normal monthly plan maintenance for Azure Database for Postgres Flexible Server.
So it's just baked in. No manual patching drama.
Pretty much. Your instances stay up to date and secure without your team needing to constantly intervene. That's the goal of managed services, right?
Right. Less manual toil. Okay, shifting to storage. Update 10. Azure NetApp files short-term clones are now GA. Short-term clones sounds useful, probably saves space and money, but is there a catch? Like with thin provisioning, sometimes performance takes a hit.
That's always the question, isn't it? But here the technical design seems pretty smart. The big benefits are capacity savings and speed.
Oh.
How so? These are temporary thin clones. They're created instantly from your existing volume snapshots, giving you immediate read-write access. The key is You skip making a full data copy for quick tasks.
Like what kind of tasks?
Think running unit tests quickly, spinning up a temporary dev environment, or maybe doing a rapid data restore for checking something. You get the space savings without that huge I/O hit you'd get copying terabytes of data.
Okay, so instant, space-efficient copies for temporary work. Nice. Now this looks like where cutting-edge AI meets Kubernetes management. Update 12. The GA of the AI toolchain operator add-on Kai-Ito for AKS.
Right, Kaiteo. It's basically an operator add-on designed specifically for AI toolchains on Kubernetes. It's meant to seriously cut down the complexity of managing AI workloads.
How does it do that?
It streamlines deploying things like high-performance AI inference and fine-tuning jobs. And they've integrated popular open-source tools. They specifically call out VLLM.
Ah, the large language model serving engine.
Exactly. High-performance stuff. That's the default inference engine here. So it drastically reduces the overhead of actually running these compute-heavy models on AKS. Makes it deploying and scaling them much, much easier.
So lowering the barrier to entry for running sophisticated AI on Kubernetes.
Interesting. Okay, we've seen what's new and generally available. Now the other side of the coin, what's going away and needs, well, mandatory planning.
Yeah, quite a few retirements this week. And two related to Azure Cache for Redis seem particularly high priority. Updates 6 and 7 basically say the whole platform is retiring in favor of Azure Managed Redis.
That's the gist. It's a major migration across the board, and you really need to look at the dates. If you're using the high-end enterprise or enterprise flash tiers, the final retirement date is March 31st, 2027.
Okay, 2027, that seems somewhat far off.
But wait, that's the final drop-dead date. The really critical one, the one you need to circle in red now, is April 1st, 2026.
April 2026. Why is that the crucial one?
Because after that date, you won't be able to create any new instances of those enterprise or enterprise flash tiers.
Oh, right. So if your DR plan involves spinning up new instances, or you've got major deployments planned for next year.
Yep. That 2026 date becomes your hard stop for having a migration plan in place and maybe even executed. Don't wait until 2027.
Okay, point taken. What about the more common tiers? Basic, standard, premium.
For those who have a bit more breathing room, the retirement is set for September 30, 2028.
Still needs planning, though.
Absolutely. Regardless of the tier, the message from Azure is crystal clear. Get your workloads migrated over to the newer Azure Managed Redis service well before these deadlines hit.
Got it. Okay, a quicker one, but important for specific users. Update 4 notes, Azure AI Health Insights service is retiring, and its models like Clinical Trials Matcher and Radiology Insights.
Yes, those are going away December 31st, 2025.
Yeah.
Seems like it's part of an internal AI portfolio review.
Really soon, end of next year. Anyone using those new services needs to move fast.
Definitely. Then we also have a couple of container and monitoring retirements to flag.
Okay.
For AKS users, Update 8 announces the retirement of Azure Network Policy Manager, NPM, specifically for Windows nodes. That's going away by September 30, 2026.
So you're using NPM for Windows network policies on AKS.
You need to be looking at alternatives now. Things like the built-in network policy engine, NPE, for instance.
Right. And the last retirement. Sounds like a security mandate.
It is. Update 11. Legacy authentication in Azure Monitor for Container Insights is retiring. Deadline is September 30, 2026.
And this isn't optional, right? You have to move.
Correct. It's a mandatory migration to the more secure managed identity authentication method.
Why the strong push?
Well, managed identity is just better. It gets rid of the need to store credentials, which is always a security risk. Plus, moving to managed identity often unlocks newer features in the service itself. It's a necessary step for stronger security posture. Non-negotiable, really.
Okay, clear message there. Migrate off legacy auth for Container Insights. So before we wrap up and talk action items, there was only one major public preview announcement this week, wasn't there?
Just the one, yeah. Update 5 introduced Vaulted Backup for Azure Data Lake Storage, ADLS.
Vaulted Backup for ADLS. What's the key value prop there, especially for listeners focused on security and compliance?
This feature is squarely aimed at compliance and recovery, especially for those massive data lakes. Vaulted Backup gives you secure, off-site protection specifically for ADLS.
Off-site meaning separate from the primary storage.
Exactly. The main value is resilience. It helps ensure business continuity by protecting your data lake data against accidental deletion or even malicious deletion because the backup lives outside the primary storage lifecycle and its potential vulnerabilities. Think compliance checkboxes and disaster recovery assurance.
Makes sense. Extra protection for critical data lake assets. #tag outro. Okay, so looking back across all 13 updates from this week, is there a kind of central theme or narrative Azure seems to be pushing right now?
I think the trend is pretty clear, actually. Two main threads this week. One, security is being hardened everywhere. You see it with the BYIP support, the Arc firmware analysis giving deeper visibility, and that mandatory push to managed identity for container insights.
Right, security definitely feels prominent.
And the second thread is a continued aggressive push towards fully managed services and streamlining operations. That's why we're seeing that full platform retirement for the older Azure Cache for Redis tiers, pushing everyone towards the newer managed offering.
Okay, so hardening security and simplifying ops via managed services, that clarifies things. Given that, what are the two most immediate, non-negotiable action items our technical listeners should probably tackle this week?
Right, boiling it down. First, optimization. If you manage complex Azure Firewall policies, go look at those rule sets now. Start using that new 600 IP group limit. That's potentially immediate technical debt reduction right there.
Clean up the firewall rules. Got it. Second.
Second, migration planning. If you use any tier of Azure Cache for Redis Basic, Standard, Premium, Enterprise, Flash, you absolutely must start mapping out your transition to Azure Managed Redis, especially with that April 2026 cutoff for creating new enterprise instances looming. Don't delay on that one.
Okay, firewall optimization and Redis migration planning. A clear checklist.
Definitely. And, thinking about that Kaito GA on AKS
Yeah.
raises an interesting question for you to mull over. How will the general availability of something like Kaito, which makes it easier to deploy AI using open source tools like VLLM on AKS, how will that shift the internal balance within your own organization? The whole build versus buy decision for deploying more advanced AI models. Does making the build or deploy open source route easier change your strategy?
That's a really interesting strategic question to chew on. Build versus buy in the context of easier AI deployment tools.
Good.
Food for thought. All right, that's a challenging thought to leave the week with. Thank you for joining us for this technical deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.